Hi, my name is Addie, and I am a trauma holder in Multispace. I'm about 13 years old in the head space, but obviously I'm in an 18-year-old body. I use they/them pronouns, and I identify as both non-binary and pan. I think it'll be good if I get into my disclaimers and my rules right away, just so that I can get them over with, and then I'll talk a little bit more about myself. So first things first, I'm very socially anxious. You could probably tell that just by the way that I talk, and you'll see that I don't interact much with other people. I just really get overwhelmed with a lot of social interaction. Also brings up some trauma stuff for me, so I'm really sorry. I wish that I could feel better about talking to people, but right now that's just not an option for me. Because I am mentally a minor, I feel a little bit awkward being friends with full-grown adults, but feel free to watch my streams and stuff still. Obviously, I'm going to be making content that's geared more towards my age, my brain age, but you can still watch if you'd like to. I just am wary about becoming friends with people who are adults. Tone tags can really help me sometimes, so if you're using sarcasm or joking around, anything like that, I would appreciate having a tone tag there, just because they help me get less anxious about things that people say to me. You don't have to use them, and you definitely don't need to use them all the time with me, but if you could use them in those instances, it would be really helpful. I have a lot of triggers that need to be tagged and not brought up around me, but if you can't do that, then you can just not comment on my stuff. You can still be around, just don't make comments. I'll make sure to add the full list down in my rules too, but I can go over them right now. I need all of the normal stuff that is a channel-wide thing to be tagged, but I also need you to avoid talking about doxxing or threats. Definitely don't make them. I don't like to talk about doctors. They make me really anxious. I really hate going to the doctor. I don't like drama or conflict or callouts. That's mostly because of my anxiety and my traumas, so don't bring those up either. I understand that sometimes they can be really important to get the word out about somebody, but don't do it on my streams, please. You can let the others know if it's really that important. Obviously, we already have a rule about not bringing up things that aren't relevant to the stream, but when it comes to me, even if it's relevant to the stream, just leave it. Don't bring it up, please. I have a big fear of losing things, abandonment, death. I don't like storms or natural disasters because of this, so definitely keep that kind of stuff out. I worry a lot, even outside of my social anxiety, so I really like to not add on to the worries by thinking about that kind of stuff. When it comes to stuff that I can, view and look at, I don't want to see things that deal with, eye trauma or, gross things happening to the eyes, injuries happening to the eyes. I get really freaked out by things that glitch a lot, or things that have unreality, like ARGs are a big thing that I tend to not go for, unless I know they're not having that glitchy, jump scary kind of stuff with it. Not that jump scares are bad, but having the glitches and the, oh, this isn't actually real and you're not really here and stuff like that, those kind of things really, really bother me. Again, it's an anxiety trigger and I can't help it. I also have a slight fear of the live action version of Cat in the Hat. It's kind of been something that I've been scared of since childhood, so I'd appreciate it if you didn't put pictures of him ever. I don't know why you would do that, but just in case, I'm gonna list it here. I have a really hard time getting close with people, so talking about like saying I love you or being intimate even in like a friendship or platonic kind of way are things that make me very anxious too. And I would also like to not talk about being betrayed, especially by friends. That's where a lot of my trauma comes from. I don't want to talk about it, obviously, so I'm not going to get into much detail, but being betrayed is one of my greatest fears, and it's why I'm so closed off a lot of the time. I hope you understand that. I also have some issues with my mom. I don't want to air any of that out, obviously. It's personal business, but if we could avoid talking about like mother figures and stuff like that, it would really help me out. There are also a lot of names that I need tagged or like censored, if that makes sense. I probably would get anxious even if they were like usernames, and I know this can be really hard for some people to understand, but it genuinely like will make me freak out. Like I will wonder if you're the people that have hurt me in the past, and I don't think anybody wants that. So I will put those down below. I'm not going to say all of them on stream. I don't want to bring up past stuff. Okay, so outside of all of that, I have a couple more rules. Number 1 is don't talk to me about anything suggestive. I think you know what I'm talking about when I say that. I am mentally a minor and I have trauma, so I don't want to ever discuss anything like that. Also, please don't ask me why I have the triggers that I do. I don't want to explain them, and especially any more than I already have in this video. So just don't ask about them. Those kind of questions make me anxious anyway, and I think it's really not people's business. With all of that said, I can talk a little bit about myself now. I won't talk for too long, but I would like to say some things about myself just so you get to know me before we start streaming. I'm a pretty sensitive person, but I also think that with that comes a lot of care for other people and even other animals. I will rescue a bug if it's in my house. I try to volunteer with the animal shelter when I can, and I always try to be there for my friends or even strangers, even though it makes me anxious sometimes to do that. I've always wanted to be able to help people in some kind of way, so even if I'm not interacting with them directly, I do try to be there to support people and to make good use to other causes. I'm Christian, and I'm pretty open about my beliefs. I do think that some other religions probably have things that they're right about, but I consider myself a Christian the most. It's really the only religion that I've ever followed or looked into, so I definitely identify as Christian. I won't talk about it too much, but you will hear me mention it on stream sometimes or just in passing. I don't think I want to make any long content about Christianity, just because it's not a huge part of my life, but I do definitely believe, and I would like to be able to talk about it sometimes, so if that makes you uncomfortable, feel free to skip out on the times that I am streaming. So I really like lavender, both the color and the scent. Before I go to bed every night, I try to spray a little bit of lavender on my pillow because it helps me sleep better than normal. I also put purple pretty much all over my personal accounts, so you'll see that used sometimes. I do go for like a lighter purple or a bright purple. I think both of those look pretty. But purple really isn't my only favorite color. I also really like cyan and light bubblegum pink. Those are my 3 favorite colors. I mentioned liking to take care of animals, so you probably already figured out that I really like animals, but in case you didn't, I do. My favorite animals are probably canines or felines. I really like having pet animals that I can kind of take care of and love on. I also just like animals in general. Coming off of that, I also like stuffed animals. I sleep with them a lot, and sometimes I kind of still see myself playing with them, but not to the extent that a kid would. I like learning about space and astronomy. I also like astrology, but I'm not one of the people that takes it super seriously. I just think that zodiac signs and stuff are fun to look at and kind of check out and see how they relate to your life. As far as my fandoms and interests go, my top two are probably Five Nights at Freddy's and creepypasta. Yes, I am on the more childish side of creepypasta, where I really like the idea of Slender Mansion and all of them kind of living together in a big group. And then for Five Nights at Freddy's, I'm a big fan of the games. I'm excited for the movie that's coming out, and I have some merchandise like plushies. I also read the main book series, and I really, really enjoyed that one. It's one of my favorites, alongside Maximum Ride and A Girl and Her Dog Mysteries. I tend to read at a higher level than other people that are my age, so I do read things like Hunger Games and the Divergent series, but I do tend to enjoy the books that are geared towards my age group. I also like to play video games sometimes. I play a lot of the more traditional ones, and I'm definitely a Nintendo kind of person. I like Legend of Zelda and Corpse Party, that kind of thing. I know a lot of my game tastes can be a little bit older for me, just kind of like my books too, but I do try to stick with games that have not as many mature topics in them. On the other side of things, I really like watching old Disney movies, so The Fox and the Hound, Bolt, Monsters Incorporated. I also really liked Encanto, that's one that came out recently. So I do watch more childish things than I do older things. For music, I like stuff from animes and Vocaloid. As an exception to that, I also really enjoy Melanie Martinez and her Crybaby album. I think my aesthetic could kind of be described as kawaii with a little bit of creepy cute mixed in. I really like cute things and a lot of characters that come from Japan, or really any simple comic type characters. For example, I like Sanrio and I like Pusheen. Other than that, I can tell you a little bit about my hobbies. I have two main hobbies. I try to do a lot of different things, so I'm not going to list all of them here. My main ones are art and writing. With art, I like drawing in a sketchbook most of the time. I'm definitely not the greatest, but I think I have a pretty cute style that's unique to me, and I'm happy with the way that my art has been progressing. For writing, I've always wanted to be an author. It's my dream, and I would love to be able to publish my own books someday. I like writing things that are more geared towards people my age, but also children's books. I'm not really a big fan of writing stuff that is for an older audience yet. I just like writing the books that I would want to see in library shelves. I think that's all that I wanted to say, so I'm going to wrap this up, and hopefully I will be able to come on stream sometime soon.